Hi, today I'm once again on the Buchan coast, and the plan is to walk up the hill just behind the camera and camp as near as I possibly can to a big white golf ball on the top of the hill. Now that big white golf ball is an active Ministry of Defence early warning radar station. And yes, I can already hear you typing your comments telling me that once again I am risking national security and committing high treason and all the other things. Well, let me just tell you a few things first before you get annoyed at me. It is a very high security base, but it is not a secret base. It has its own wiki page. It is clearly visible on Google Earth and Google Maps. And if you still can't find it, down on the main road is its own sign telling you where it is. So it's definitely not a secret base, and I'm not, letting any secrets out of the bag by showing it to you. Secondly, I will not be setting foot on any Ministry of Defence land. In fact, I won't be trespassing at all. I will be accessing my camping spot via a nice, well-laid public footpath that was put there by the council for dog walkers and recreational use. So no trespassing or law breaking at all. But I will be going stealth because this is a very popular dog walking site, and I do not want a dog walker seeing my camp and reporting me to the police and there being another great big misunderstanding about whether I'm breaking the law or not with the local police. Don't want that, so I'm going to keep it as low key as I possibly can. So that all being said, I'm going to pick up my gear and hoof it up the hill and see if I can find a camp spot as near to the perimeter fence as I can possibly get away with. So let's go. So I'm getting close to where I want to camp now, and I can see the perimeter fence right in front of me. I've forgotten how open it is up here, but I reckon somewhere in the bushes up here I should be able to set up a tarp and keep under it in my bivvy bag. I've got, about 3.5 hours of light. Hard to believe how bright it is at the moment, but it's kind of getting dark at 8:30, maybe, something like that now. It's middle of September, and yeah, the nights are definitely drawing in now. So I reckon I've got about 4 hours. So I'm gonna find a spot, get my tarp set up, and then I think what I'll do then is tell you a little bit about the history of this place, because this place has been here an awful long time for a radar station. So that's what I'll do. So I'm going to spin the camera around again. We'll walk up a little bit more, and then I'll find my spot and I'll show you where I'm setting up. Now, as long as there's been military radar in use in the UK, there have been radar bases here on the Buchan coast. It was one of the first places that stations were set up in the UK. Now, throughout the Second World War, there was radar kit set up on this hill, Stirling Hill. And after the war, in 1952, RAF Buchan was officially opened, and there was radar systems set up on top of the hill with a large bunker dug into the ground, but also a radar station set up about 2 kilometres away down on the flat plain, and they were both referred to as RAF Buchan, and they went on to build accommodation down in the village down at the bottom. Now, as the Cold War started to hot up, in 1979, the base on the hill was enlarged. The base down 2 kilometres away was phased out, and they upped the radar setup on the hill. They also massively enlarged the bunker underground, giving it a self-sufficient capability. It had scrubbers and generators and enough food and water for all the staff that were working down there to survive. It was standalone and it was nuclear proof. At its height, there were about 300 people working down in the bunker, which had multiple floors and was a pretty serious thing. Its job was to watch the skies across Europe and to dispatch interceptor fighters to, should we say, escort away Russian bombers who'd strayed into our airspace. In 1991, RAF Buchan was made the Northern UK Control Reporting Centre. That meant it was in charge of all air surveillance, tactical air support and early warning radar cover for the whole of the north. Nothing moved in the skies over Europe without Buchan seeing it. Now in 2000, with the kind of end of the Cold War, RAF Buchan was phased down, and it was phased down to a remote radar head with the actual operators being based at RAF Bulmer in the north of England, and 200 staff who worked here were reallocated to other RAF bases around the UK. And in 2004, RAF Buchan was officially closed and this became Buchan Remote Radar Head. Now it still has, and we don't quite know exactly how many, between 50 and 100 staff working here, but it is still the frontline air support, air defence and early warning system for the UK. It's a very important place. Now the dome is some distance behind me. This is the external perimeter fence, one of many. Now I've counted about 8 in towards it, but I don't know exactly how many, but I'm certainly nowhere near getting close to the dome, which is actually quite massive when you look at it. Now I know there are patrols. I can see there's a patrol path back there, so as it gets dark I'm going to have to be careful with my lights and everything so I don't get spotted. There's also a shit ton of cameras. I can't believe how many cameras there are. I had a walk round before I set up and you can see lots of cameras on posts, so I don't even know if I'm being watched now by a camera. I don't think so, but you just don't know. So fingers crossed I don't get raided and kicked out in the night. And there is a gate just over there, but it doesn't, I had a look at it and it doesn't look like it's been opened in a long time, but I guess that doesn't mean anything. So I think I'm going to think about getting some tea on, and I'm going to have a Bombay bad boy pot noodle, because I've had a number of people ask me to try one and I genuinely have never had one, so I've no idea what it's going to be like, but I've got some backup food if it's bogging, so I'll bring you back when I'm setting up for that. Okay, I thought I'd give you a quick look at what I've got. As I've said before, I'm no expert at tarpology, but this is the setup. Yeah, it's a Rab Sill Tarp 2, a really lightweight tarp, and I've got it clipped actually to the fence at that end, and I've got my trekking pole over there with a guy line on it, and I've just held it open at this side just so I can get in and out with a bungee onto the fence. My sleep system is a British Army Gore-Tex bivy bag with my 4-season, what's it called? It is a OEX Leviathan, that's what it's called. I've got that on a Dutch roll mat, my trusty roll mat, and I've got my cheap and cheerful 2x2 ground sheets, which actually are not quite long enough, but they'll do. And I've got 2 of those, so I've got one like underneath my sleep system, and I've got one I can sit on. Now the ground's really wet. It was pouring with rain earlier, and there's pretty long grass here, so invariably I'm going to get a bit damp. Also, unusually for here, I think I might get midges because it's damp and it's very kind of midgy feeling, and I'm already starting to see them, so I have a feeling I might be sleeping with a midgie net on. But there you go. Everything's in my trusty British Army Bergen, and I've got a set of waterproofs with me because forecast is for rain in the morning, and I'm going to have to be up and at 'em and early and away because I've got to go to work in the morning. So yeah, I'm going to have to be up and away and leg it back down to my van. Now my van is parked a long way away because I'm not going to have the problems I had before. So yeah, my van is quite a long walk from here. But that's my setup tonight, and I'll be cooking on a Trangia with a good windshield because I thought it would be a bit stealthier, and all I've got to do is really shield the flames so nobody actually sees the flame, which should be easy enough. So that's what I'm going to use to boil my water up. Okay, I think time has come to get some food on, so let's have a look what I've got. So tonight's delicacy is pot noodle, bomb boy, bad boy, and I was looking for one of the bigger ones, but all I could find was that in my local shop. So that's what we've got tonight. And for pudding, oh yes, ambrosia cream rice out of the tin, obviously. So I am using, what I'll do is I'll spin the camera around and I'll set it up so you can see my cooking setup. So this is the cooking setup. I've got a Tokes titanium 750ml pot. I've got a titanium kind of pot stand windshield and a good old-fashioned brass Trangia with a set of legs. Now, I'm not a fan of these because if you've got to put it out in a rush, that won't fit on, but in this kind of setup it works good with the pot. So it's a bit of a compromise. You just have to, you know, if you need to put it out, flick that off with a stick or something and then put the snuffer on. So I'll put it all together. So that sits like that. That sits like that. And I carry my fuel in these Trangia fuel bottles. They're a bit of money. They're not crazy money. I forget how much it is. I'll put it up on the screen there. But they're very clever. This little knob, you adjust and then you can just have a nice slow trickle out of it. They're made of plastic. They're tough plastic, like the army water bottle plastic. Really solid things, and I think they're brilliant if you're carrying alcohol. This is quite a, well, they come in all different sizes. This one is a 300ml. That'd last me kind of 3 or 4 days, that would. And I'm burning bioethanol, as I always do, because I think it burns as good as meths, but it doesn't give off carbon monoxide, and it doesn't soot up the pans. And for me, you know, why wouldn't you use it? So what I'm going to do now is get some water on and try this bad boy out. So, yeah, and the ground is pretty soft and uneven here, so I'm going to have to be really careful that I don't spill the water everywhere, or particularly not all over myself, which is not what I want to do. So you have to be careful. Let's, oh, he says rummaging in his pockets, find his lighter. There we go. So take it off out of the way. There we go, that's that lit. Get that in there. Don't want to sit right, does it? Hang on, let's get it straight. Stay. And there we go. And we'll leave that for what will feel like an eternity, because, you know, alcohol stoves are not the quickest, but at least we are quiet. Although me gabbing away is probably just as loud as the gas stove. So I will leave that there, and when it's ready, we will try this thing out and I'll let you know what I think. I'll actually let you see me take my first bite. So until then, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I've followed the instructions, the requisite time has passed and it is ready to eat. Now my first impressions before I even tuck in is it smells awful like a school curry, and that's a curry made by a white Brummie, not an Indian person. It doesn't smell remotely Indian, but I won't hold that against it. So I'll peel off the lid, put that over there, and yeah, it's kind of brown, but we'll give it a go. I put all the hot sauce in, actually licked a bit off my fingers, and yeah, it was a bit hot, but it wasn't Korean hot, so I don't think it's going to be that spicy. Well, as I expected, it actually tastes quite good, but it tastes like a Vesta curry from the 70s, and yeah, maybe that's hot for pot noodle eaters. Shit, that sounded very patronising, but I didn't mean it to. It's not really that hot. I mean, on a level of 1 to 10 Korean, this is baby food. It's really not that hot, but it's got a bit of a kick, and it's actually got a kind of curry powdery smell, and it'll be all right. Yeah, is it authentic Indian curry? No, it's not. Is it edible? Yeah, I guess it is. So yeah, and is it better than the chicken and mushroom? Oh yeah, it's a lot better than the chicken and mushroom. So I'm going to tuck into that, and then I'm going to finish off with my rice pudding, and I'm going to wash it all down with a can of Inch's medium apple cider, which is like 4.5%. Really nice, refreshing cider. Can's still nice and cold, so I shall enjoy that and that and that, and I'll come back to you when I'm fully fortified. But I hope that makes everybody happy. The Bombay Bad Boy pot noodle, probably the best pot noodle I've had, but I haven't had them all yet. But yeah, would I eat it again? Yeah, I would. Would I eat it in place of a Korean one? No, I'll always go for one of the Korean ones. Sorry guys, but it's not as good as the Korean stuff. Anyway, I'm going to tuck in. Well, that's dinner done, and yeah, well, I'm not sure about those Bombay Bad Boys. I've already got indigestion, and I remembered it wasn't school dinners it reminded me of. It reminded me of Compo ration chicken curry, which came in a can, but kind of had the same smell, very heavy on the cumin, kind of tasted like curry powder. So I'm not sure if I'll have another one, but better than nothing. But anyway, I literally got half an hour's light left. It's fading fast and the temperature's dropping dramatically, and as I suspected, there are lots of flies around here, but not midges. I think they're mozzies, and I can't remember last time I saw mosquitoes around here, but yeah, the swarms of the bloody things. So I'm going to be putting my smidge head net on, and I'll probably put it on over the top of this hat, keep it away from my face, because I know those buggers can bite through those nets. So yeah, I'll be sleeping in a head net tonight. As you can see, I'll spin it round. Sun is dropping behind me, and at the same time the moon is rising over there. I don't know how the camera's picking that up, but moon's back there and the sun is just dropping behind the hill over there. And, I'll swing the camera around and I'll give you one last look of the radar dome. Now it's red nighttime lights have come on the top of it, and then I think I'll be kind of getting myself into my bag, and I'll say to Artia when it's kind of dark and night time to go to bed. So I'll just walk up the fence line again and show you the dome now the sun's not blinding us. Okay, that's it, pitch black, and I'm gonna get my head down. I can't have this light on for long, it's gonna get covered in flies as well. I'm going to alert my position to people. There's definitely people walking around outside, so I'm going to get my head down and I'll see you in the morning. So, see you in the morning, folks. Well, good morning. That was actually a far better sleep than I was expecting. The ground is a bit on the bumpy side, but I seem to have kind of flattened it down, and yeah, actually slept very well. Didn't get any disturbances in the night, but I did see somebody walking over there with a torch, so there's definitely security guards here, but it didn't spot me, and I got left alone, which is great. The sun's just coming up. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? I don't know if that came out, but yeah, sun's just coming up over there, so it's 6 o'clock. So I'm going to get packed up and get back to the van and go and get some breakfast at McDonald's, I think, and go to work. And I will do a wash up when I get home. So I'll see you when I get back home. See you in a bit. Yeah, so that's everything packed up and bagged. Rubbish is bagged up in the flap at the top of my bag, and as ever, I'll pick up other people's rubbish on the way out, and I'll see you when I get home. Well, that's me back home, and all in all, a very successful trip. I didn't get arrested, and I didn't get any hassle at all, although there was somebody walking around at about 2 o'clock in the morning with a torch. So I think that there's a kind of security patrol that goes around, but he didn't see me. He may have heard me snoring, but he didn't see me. I did try and film it, but I took my night camera out of the bag and it was flat as a pancake, so you just have to take my word for it. Now, as far as the camping spot goes, it wasn't the best in the world. It was very wet, the ground was wet, it was very bumpy and uneven, and there were lots of bugs and flies around, so pretty much everything you don't want in a spot. But, and it's a big but, it was about the only place I could camp next to the perimeter fence without actually being seen from the actual radar dome. So I hadn't really a lot of choice, and after a bit of tossing and turning, I did actually flatten the ground out a bit. Now, it must have rained in the night or was a very heavy dew, but I woke up and everything was a bit on the damp side. But me and my sleeping bag were toasty dry. The Gore-Tex bag is just perfect, and it kept my down bag nice and dry, and it was quite a mild night, 12 degrees. So, you know, actually my 4-season bag was a bit too much and I was quite warm. But packed up, got out in the morning, and all was good. So all in all, a pretty good camp. Now, Bombay Bad Boy pot noodles, yeah, I'm not sure. Pretty much repeated on me all through the night, and yeah, they taste kind of curry-ish, but not really my thing. I may try again. It may have just been a bad one. I'll try it once more, but I think I like the kind of clean, hot taste that I get from my Korean noodles. But if you're into kind of Western curries, then you might like it, because it's definitely got a kind of British curry flavour to it. So there you go. That's my kind of final thoughts on the Bombay Bad Boy pot noodle. But anyway, it was a great camp, and I look forward to the next one. So until the next camp, I'll say ta-ra. Ta-ra.